The alien cruiser drifted in silence near the edge of human space, its once bright hull dark and torn. Power flickered inside like a dying breath. Alarms no longer sounded. Most systems were already dead. Inside one narrow chamber, Princess Elira lay strapped to a medical seat that no longer worked. Her breathing was shallow. Dark blue blood stained the floor beneath her. She had not slept in days, and pain pulsed through every part of her body. Elira had been trained since childhood to endure hardship, but this was different. This was failure. The Empire believed her dead, and that was exactly what the Council wanted. She closed her eyes, letting memories rise and fall like broken waves, then forced them away. Thinking about the past would only weaken her now. Survival was all that mattered. Far away. A small human salvage ship moved slowly through the debris field. The ship was old and patched with mismatched metal plates. Its name, painted in fading letters, was Dawn Seeker. Inside the cockpit, Luke Carter leaned back in his chair, scanning the area with tired eyes. He had been a deep space engineer once before budget cuts and politics pushed him out. Now he survived by salvaging wrecks no one else wanted. Luke noticed the strange signal almost by accident. It was weak, alien, and barely holding together. Most salvagers would ignore it. Alien wrecks meant trouble. But Luke had never been good at walking away. He leaned forward, fingers moving across the console. "That's not debris," he muttered to himself. "That's a ship." The Dawn Seeker adjusted course. As it moved closer, the scale of the damage became clear. The alien cruiser was massive compared to his small ship, but it looked like it had lost a fight. It never stood a chance to win. Luke hesitated. Alien tech was unpredictable. Alien politics were worse. But then he saw a faint life sign on his scanner. "One person," he said softly. "Just one." That decided it. Docking was difficult. The cruiser rotated slowly, and its outer ports were damaged. Luke worked carefully, guiding the Dawn Seeker into place. Metal scraped against metal, and the ship shuddered, but the lock held. When the air equalized, Luke pulled on a simple suit and stepped through the hatch. The inside of the cruiser was dark and cold. The air smelled sharp and strange, but breathable. Emergency lights flickered along the walls, casting long shadows. He moved slowly, scanning as he went. The ship was silent except for distant creaks. Then he found her. Elira tried to sit up when she sensed movement, but her body refused to obey. Her vision blurred, then focused on a tall figure in a human suit. Fear surged through her, sharp and sudden. Luke froze when he saw her. She was not like any alien he had seen before. Her skin shimmered faintly, marked with fine lines that glowed weakly. Her eyes opened wide and alert despite her injuries. "Easy," Luke said, raising his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." Elira studied him. His voice was calm, uncertain, but not cruel. She searched his posture, his breathing, the way his eyes moved. Not a soldier, she decided, not a hunter. "You are human," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. "Yeah," Luke replied. "Name's Luke. Can you tell me your name?" She hesitated. Names had power. Names could kill. "Elira," she said at last. It was not a lie, but it was not the whole truth. Luke nodded. "You're hurt bad. This ship's not going to keep you alive much longer." "I know," she said. "Then we need to move. My ship's small, but I've got a working med unit." Elira's eyes narrowed slightly. Trust did not come easily to her, but the cold was already creeping deeper into her bones. "Very well," she said, "but you must promise not to contact others." Luke frowned. "I don't have much love for authorities, human or alien. You'll be safe with me." That was good enough. Moving her was hard. Her body was lighter than he expected, but fragile. Luke worked carefully, securing her to a transport sled. Elira clenched her jaw as pain shot through her, but she did not scream. Luke noticed that too. Once aboard the Dawn Seeker, Luke placed her inside the med unit. The machine hummed to life, scanning her injuries. "Never seen biology like yours," Luke said, "but I'll do what I can." Elira watched him work. He moved with quiet focus, hands steady even when the machine gave warnings he did not fully understand. He adjusted settings, rerouted power, and improvised repairs with calm skill. "You adapt quickly," she said. Luke shrugged. "Machines break. You learn or you die." The med unit stabilized her condition. Pain dulled to a distant ache. Exhaustion finally pulled her towards sleep. Before she drifted off, Elira spoke again. "Why did you help me?" Luke looked at her for a long moment. "Because you were there. Because no one else was coming." That answer stayed with her as darkness took her. She dreamed of fire and voices shouting her name. She dreamed of standing before the council, refusing to bow. She dreamed of running through metal halls as alarms screamed. When she woke, the dreams faded, but the fear did not. Days passed. The Dawn Seeker moved deeper into human territory, away from the border. Elira grew stronger, though she still hid the full extent of her abilities. Luke checked on her often, bringing simple food and asking careful questions. "You never told me what kind of ship you were on," he said one day. Elira chose her words with care. "A research vessel. There was an internal conflict." Luke raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to say it." She gave a faint smile. It was the first time he had seen her do that. As her strength returned, Elira explored the ship. It was small, cluttered, and imperfect. Wires ran along walls in uneven lines. Panels were scratched and repaired more than once, yet everything worked. "Your people build differently," she said. "We build to survive," Luke replied. "Pretty comes later." She found that answer honest, refreshing, but danger had not passed. Far beyond the Dawn Seeker, a signal pulse echoed through space. Velith scouts had found the wreck. The princess's body was missing. The hunt began. Elira sensed it before any scanner could. A familiar tension settled in her chest. She stood by the viewport watching stars slide past. "What is it?" Luke asked. "My past," she said quietly. "It is not done with me yet." Luke studied her face. He knew there was more she was not saying, but he also knew pushing too hard could break fragile trust. "Then we'll deal with it when it shows up," he said. Elira turned to him. In that moment, she saw something she had rarely seen among her own kind: resolve without ambition, strength without hunger for control. Perhaps, she thought, this human was the key to more than survival. And far away, unseen eyes turned toward human space, drawn by a secret that refused to stay buried. The Dawn Seeker traveled deeper into human space, moving through quiet lanes where traffic was thin and stars felt far apart. Inside the small ship, life settled into a careful routine. Luke checked systems, cleaned filters, and made small repairs that never seemed to end. Elira rested, observed, and slowly learned the habits of her rescuer. She healed faster than Luke expected. Cuts closed. Bruises faded. The med unit reported progress that made him shake his head. "You're tougher than you look," he said one morning as he studied the readings. Elira met his eyes. "My people are shaped by harsh worlds." "Still," Luke replied, "most folks would still be flat on their back." She said nothing. The truth was more complex than that, and she had no wish to open that door. As her strength returned, Elira began helping around the ship. At first it was small things, organizing tools, cleaning surfaces, watching Luke work. Then she started asking questions. "Why does this engine sound uneven?" she asked once. Luke glanced at her, surprised. "Fuel mix is off. Cheap supply." She nodded. "If you shift power through the auxiliary line, the vibration will lessen." Luke tried it. The sound smoothed out. He stared at the console, then at her. "You sure you're just a navigator?" Elira felt a brief flicker of tension. "I had good teachers." Luke accepted that answer, but curiosity took root. On the fourth day, they reached a small human outpost built into an asteroid. It was little more than a dock, a repair bay, and a few living sections. Luke needed supplies. Elira needed rest. "Stay close," Luke said as they entered the station. "Humans don't see aliens out here often." Elira pulled her cloak tighter, lowering her head. She felt exposed, surrounded by unfamiliar voices and curious glances. Some humans stared openly. Others looked away. A woman behind the supply counter leaned forward. "Haven't seen your kind before." "She's with me," Luke said quickly. "Long trip. Needs space." The woman nodded slowly. "Everyone does." They secured a temporary berth. Elira sat quietly while Luke spoke with station staff. She listened more than she spoke. Humans argued loudly, laughed easily, and complained about small problems. There was no rigid order, no constant fear of punishment. It felt chaotic, but alive. Later, alone in the berth, Elira stood by the small window and watched ships come and go. Each one was different. Patched, painted, imperfect. In her empire, ships were uniform. Perfection was demanded. Failure was erased. That thought brought a sharp ache to her chest. That night, Luke woke to a soft sound. He found Elira sitting on the floor, knees drawn close, eyes unfocused. "Nightmare?" he asked. She nodded. "Want to talk about it?" She shook her head. "If I begin, I may not stop." He sat beside her anyway. Silence filled the space, but it was not uncomfortable. The next day, trouble arrived. It began with a signal spike. Luke noticed it while running diagnostics. "That's strange," he muttered. Elira felt it too, a pressure at the edge of her thoughts. She stiffened. "What is it?" Luke asked. "Someone is searching," she said. "Not human." Luke's jaw tightened. "How close?" "Close enough to worry." They left the outpost sooner than planned. The Dawn Seeker slipped away quietly, but Elira knew it would not be enough. Far away, a sleek alien scout ship adjusted course. Its crew studied scans from the wrecked cruiser. The trail was faint, but clear. Life signs had been removed. A human vessel had been present. The princess lived. On the Dawn Seeker, Elira paced the narrow corridor. Memories surfaced without mercy. She remembered the council chamber, the cold light, the voices demanding obedience. The project they wanted her to lead, a weapon shaped like a ruler. She had refused. Betrayal followed quickly. Luke watched her from the cockpit. "You're not telling me everything." She stopped. Her shoulders sagged slightly. "No," she said. "I am not." He waited. "My presence puts you in danger," she continued. "If you leave me at the next station, they will not harm you." Luke frowned. "Not happening." "You do not understand." "Then help me understand." Elira looked at him, really looked. She saw no hunger for power, no fear of standing alone, only stubborn resolve. She spoke carefully. "My people do not forgive defiance. They erase it." "Sounds like bullies with better tech," Luke said. That surprised her. A soft, brief laugh escaped her before she could stop it. "Yes," she admitted. "That is accurate." The scout ship drew closer. Luke rerouted power, masking their trail as best he could. "If they catch us?" "They will try to take me alive," Elira said. "You will be expendable." "Not a fan of that plan," Luke replied. The first contact came without warning. A message burst through their systems, alien symbols flooding the screen. Elira's face went pale. "They are demanding my return," she said. "They claim I belong to the Empire." Luke crossed his arms. "Do you?" She hesitated. "I was born to it. but I do not belong to it." "Then that's that." The scout ship moved into attack range, but did not fire. It waited. Elira closed her eyes, reaching inward. She touched systems she had sworn never to use again. The ship responded to her in ways Luke did not understand. Energy shifted. Signals bent. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Lying," she replied. The Dawn Seeker vanished from enemy sensors, slipping into a blind zone created by overlapping radiation fields. The maneuver was risky. Human ships rarely attempted it. They escaped, but the cost was clear. The scout ship transmitted data before losing them. The Empire now knew humans were involved. When the danger passed, Elira collapsed into a seat, shaking. Luke stared at her. "That wasn't normal." She nodded slowly. "I was altered." He said nothing. "Before I was born," she continued, voice low, "the Council approved changes. They wanted a ruler who could interface with machines, influence minds, command loyalty without question." Luke felt a chill. "And you?" "I refused to become what they wanted." Silence filled the cockpit. "That's why they tried to kill you," he said. "Yes." Luke leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "You could have told me." "And watched fear replace kindness?" she asked softly. He sighed. "Maybe, but I'd still help." That surprised her more than anything else. They changed course again, heading for a hidden human research station known for discretion. Luke contacted an old friend there, Commander Ethan Ross. "I've got a situation," Luke said, "and an alien who needs protection." Ethan did not ask many questions. "Bring her in." As the Dawn Seeker moved on, Elira felt something unfamiliar growing inside her. Not hope, something stronger, trust. But beyond human space, the Velith Council gathered. Plans were set. Alliances shifted. The princess had escaped once. She would not escape again. The hidden human station drifted inside a hollowed asteroid, far from normal routes. Its surface looked like broken rock, but inside it held light, air, and quiet strength. The Dawn Seeker slid into the docking bay without trouble. Luke let out a long breath he did not realize he had been holding. Elira stood beside him, calm on the outside, tense within. The closer they came to other humans, the harder it was to hide who she truly was. She could feel the station systems brushing against her senses like soft fingers. Machines listened to her even when she did not speak. "Don't do anything strange," Luke said gently. She gave a small nod. "I will try." Commander Ethan Ross met them at the airlock. He was broad-shouldered, with tired eyes and a calm voice shaped by years of command. Two security officers stood behind him, alert but not hostile. "You look like hell, Luke," Ethan said. "Good to see you, too," Luke replied. "This is Elira." Ethan studied her. "Alien guest?" "Something like that." Elira inclined her head slightly. "Thank you for receiving us." Ethan raised an eyebrow but nodded. "You're safe here. For now." They were led through clean halls lined with soft lights. Humans moved with purpose but without panic. Elira noticed how often they made eye contact, how easily they spoke to one another. There was respect, but not fear. They reached a private room, simple, secure. "I'll post guards," Ethan said, "and I want a full explanation." "You'll get it," Luke replied. Once they were alone, Elira sank onto a chair. The effort of holding herself together finally caught up with her. "They are close," she said quietly. Luke leaned against the wall. "How close?" "Close enough that hiding will not last." He nodded. "Then we tell them." Her eyes snapped up. "Everything?" "Everything that matters." She looked away. "Once I speak, there is no return." "There already wasn't," he said softly. Hours later, they stood in a small briefing room. Commander Ethan Ross sat at the head of the table. Beside him was Claire Morgan, a human diplomat with sharp eyes and a calm face. She watched Elira with careful interest. "Start from the beginning," Claire said. Elira took a slow breath. "I was born into the ruling line of the Velith Empire," she said. "From the moment my existence was confirmed, my future was decided." She spoke of the council, of genetic shaping, of the project meant to create a perfect ruler. One who could bind worlds together through force and control. "They did not want a leader," Elira said. "They wanted a symbol, a tool." Luke watched the humans across the table. He expected disbelief, fear. Instead, Ethan looked grim. Claire looked angry. "You refused," Claire said. "Yes," Elira replied. "I believed unity chosen freely was stronger than obedience forced by design." "So they tried to remove you," Ethan said. Elira nodded. "They declared me unstable, dangerous. My ship was sabotaged. I was meant to vanish." Silence followed. "Why come to us?" Claire asked. "I did not choose you," Elira said honestly. "Chance did. But once I saw how humans live, how they argue, how they fail and still stand again, I understood something." She met Claire's gaze. "You are difficult to control." Luke smiled faintly. "That may be the nicest thing anyone's ever said about us," Ethan said. The room grew tense as alerts flashed across the table display. "Multiple contacts," an officer said over the intercom. "Alien signatures, Velith design." Elira's heart tightened. "They have arrived." Ethan stood. "Battle stations, non-lethal if possible. I want time." The station hummed as shields powered up. Human ships scrambled from hidden bays, smaller and slower than Velith vessels, but many. Luke stayed close to Elira as the first attack came. The Velith ships did not fire immediately. They broadcast a demand. "Return the princess," the voice said. "This matter does not concern you." Ethan replied without hesitation. "She is under human protection. Leave." A pause followed. Then the attack began. Velith weapons struck the shields. Precise and powerful. The station shook. Alarms rang. Luke ran to engineering with a team. He moved through smoke and sparks, barking orders, rerouting power, fixing brakes with whatever was at hand. Humans worked fast, loud, and together. Elira stood in the command center, hands clenched. She felt the pull again. The old power, the voice of the machines calling to her. "Do not," she whispered to herself. Claire noticed her struggle. "You don't have to do this alone." Elira looked at her. "If I step forward as they fear, I become what they tried to make me. Or," Claire said, "you become something new." Outside, the battle turned. Velith ships underestimated human tactics. Human pilots broke formation, used debris, blinded sensors, and struck where least expected. One Velith cruiser pushed too close. A human frigate rammed it. Engines flaring, tearing both ships apart. Elira felt it. The loss. The sacrifice. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why would they do that for me?" "Because you're not a weapon to us," Claire said. "You're a person." The Velith commander sent another message. This one was addressed only to Elira. "Return," it said, "or we burn this place." Elira stepped forward. "No." She opened herself, not to control, but to connection. She reached the station systems, not to command, but to guide. Power flowed differently this time. Human machines did not submit. They cooperated. Shields strengthened. Sensors sharpened. Weapons aligned faster. Luke felt it in engineering. "Whatever she's doing," he said, "it's working." The tide shifted. Velith ships faltered. Confusion spread through their rigid ranks. Ethan seized the moment. "Push them back." Human ships surged forward. The Velith commander ordered retreat. Silence fell as the last enemy ship vanished into jump space. Elira swayed. Luke caught her before she fell. "You did it," he said. She shook her head. "We did." In the aftermath, damage reports filled the screens. Losses were counted. Lives were mourned. Ethan faced Elira once more. "They'll be back." "Yes," she agreed. "But not the same way." Claire folded her arms. "The truth is out now. The Empire knows you live. Humans know why they want you." Elira straightened. "Then let them all know everything." "You want to expose them," Ethan said. "Yes, their crimes, their lies, the project." Luke nodded slowly. "That's going to shake a lot of stars." "Good," Elira said. "They deserve to shake." Far away, within Veleth's space, whispers began to spread. Doubts, questions. The hidden princess was no longer hiding, and humanity had chosen a side. The days after the battle passed in uneasy calm. The hidden station repaired its wounds, but everyone knew the quiet would not last. Veleth's space was stirring. Signals moved fast through dark channels. The Empire was angry, but more than that, it was afraid. Elira felt it in every breath she took. The moment she had stood against them openly, the rules had changed. She was no longer a lost heir. She was a challenge. Luke watched her from across the small room they shared. She stood near the viewport, staring into the stars, hands folded behind her back. She looked calm, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. "You don't sleep anymore," he said. "Sleep brings memories," Elira replied. "I cannot afford them right now." "You can't afford to break either." She turned to him. "Humans speak so freely of breaking, yet you keep moving forward." "We don't really have a choice," Luke said. "We just pretend we do." She studied him, then nodded slowly. The station received new arrivals each day. Human ships gathered, called in quietly from distant systems. Some were military, many were not. Freighters, miners, old patrol craft long forgotten by Central Command. They came because of rumors. An alien princess betrayed by her own people, humans standing in the way. Commander Ethan Ross walked through the hangar, watching crews work side by side. There was no grand speech, no promise of glory, only shared purpose. Claire Morgan met with captains and civilian leaders, explaining the situation in simple words. "This is not about territory," she told them. "This is about choice. If we hand her over, we say power decides truth. If we don't, we accept the cost." Many stayed. Some left. No one was judged. Elira spoke to them once, standing on a raised platform inside the hangar. She did not wear royal colors, only simple clothing, like the humans around her. "I will not command you," she said. "I will not promise safety. My enemies are strong. But if you stand with me, you stand for a future where rulers are not built to rule by fear." Her voice was steady, honest. That was enough. The Veleth fleet arrived 3 days later. They came in force. Dozens of ships slipped out of jump space, their hulls smooth and perfect, their formation flawless. At their center was a massive command vessel, cold and silent. Alarms echoed through the station. Luke took his place aboard a small combat ship, one that barely deserved the name. Its weapons were old, its armor thin, but its engine had been tuned by human hands that knew how to push limits. Elira stood on the command deck of the station beside Ethan and Claire. She felt the Veleth presence like a storm pressing against her mind. A message came through, broadcast to all. "Elira of Veleth," the voice said. "You will return. This conflict ends now." Elira stepped forward. "It ends when you stop trying to own people." "You were made for this role," the voice replied. "You cannot escape your design." "You are wrong," she said. "I choose who I become." The fleet moved. Human ships surged out to meet them, breaking formation, scattering like fragments of light. Veleth weapons fired with clean precision, cutting through space. Human ships dodged, twisted, hid behind debris and each other. Luke's ship shook as a blast grazed its side. He gritted his teeth and laughed once, sharp and breathless. "Come on," he muttered. "Miss me." Human pilots spoke over open channels, warning, joking, swearing. Chaos filled the airwaves. Velith Command struggled to adapt. Their doctrine expected order, fear, obedience. Humans gave them noise and motion and sacrifice. One human ship lost power, drifting toward enemy fire. Without hesitation, another moved to shield it, taking the hit instead. The shield failed. The ship broke apart. Elira felt the loss like a wound. "This is wrong," she whispered. Claire looked at her. "They know the risk. They should not have to die for me." "They're not," Claire said. "They're choosing what kind of galaxy they want." Elira closed her eyes. The Velith command vessel pushed forward, weapons charging. Its target was the station. "If that ship fires," Ethan said, "we won't hold." Elira opened herself again, not as a weapon, not as a ruler, but as a bridge. She reached the human network, asking rather than commanding. Power shifted, systems aligned, ships shared data freely, faster than before. Luke felt it in his cockpit. Targeting sharpened. Warnings came early. He reacted without thinking. "That's her," he said softly. "She's helping." Human ships focused fire on the command vessel, not trying to destroy it, but to blind it. Sensors failed. Shields flickered. The Velith commander shouted orders, voice tight with fury. Control slipped. Then something unexpected happened. Inside the Velith fleet, smaller ships began to hesitate. Their crews watched the command vessel struggle. They had heard whispers. Rumors of the princess who refused to obey, of a council that lied. One ship broke formation, then another. They did not fire on their own fleet. They simply pulled away. Panic spread through the Velith ranks. "They're losing cohesion," an officer reported. Ethan leaned forward. "Push now!" Human ships surged again, pressing the advantage. The command vessel tried to retreat, but its jump drive failed. Elira stepped to the console. "Open a channel." Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Elira's face appeared on Velith screens across the fleet. "You were told I was dangerous," she said, "that I would destroy order. Look at yourselves. Your fear has already done that." The command vessel fired one last time. A human ship moved to intercept. Luke recognized its signature too late. The blast lit space white. The human ship was gone. Elira screamed. Something broke inside her, but instead of rage, grief poured out. It flowed through the network, through machines and minds. Velith crews felt it too. Not as control, as truth. The command vessel's weapons powered down. Silence spread across the battlefield. Velith ships began to retreat, not in perfect order, but in fragments. The battle was over. Wreckage drifted between stars. Rescue crews moved fast, pulling survivors from debris. Losses were heavy, but the station still stood. Luke's ship limped back to the hangar. He climbed out, face pale, hands shaking. Elira found him there and held him without speaking. "They died," she said quietly. "They lived choosing," Luke replied. "That matters." Ethan addressed the remaining crews. "This isn't the end," he said, "but today we held." Claire stood beside Elira. "The Empire is fractured now. You showed them another path." Elira looked out at the stars again. "Paths are useless if no one walks them?" Claire smiled sadly. "They will." Far away, within Velith space, worlds watched the recordings, heard the words, saw their fleet hesitate. The idea of obedience cracked, and for the first time, the Velith Empire feared not rebellion, but change. The aftermath of the battle left space around the hidden station quiet but tense. Repairs were ongoing, and humans worked tirelessly to fix ships and recover resources. Elira walked among them, learning the rhythm of life among beings who chose to fight. Rebuild and survive without the heavy hand of a ruler. She felt both awe and humility. Humans did not have perfect systems, yet they made choices that shaped their world. Luke moved beside her, carrying a small toolkit. "You're observing again," he said, "learning our ways." Elira nodded. "I want to understand. Your strength is different from mine. It is not imposed. It is earned." "Earned, huh?" Luke chuckled. "We fail more than we succeed, but somehow we keep standing." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps that is the key. Resilience." They reached the docking bay where damaged ships were being repaired. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and voices shouted over one another. Yet everyone worked together. She watched a human crew fit a new hull section into a cruiser. The precision was imperfect, but effective. It reminded her of her people, only freer. "You're thinking about your empire again," Luke said. "Don't let it cloud your mind here." Elira shook her head. "It cannot be ignored. The empire is still out there, and they will try again." "Then we'll be ready," Luke said, determination steady in his voice. Over the next few days, Elira began sharing her knowledge. She showed humans ways to interface with alien technology, teaching them to read systems and anticipate failures. Her instructions were simple, but her insight was profound. She guided repairs of Valeth ships without fear or hesitation. Humans learned quickly, and she felt a strange pride. It was different from the Empire's orders. It was mutual respect, not fear. One evening, she stood by the viewport again, watching distant stars flicker. The battle had changed more than the station. It had changed her. She realized that power was not in forcing obedience or commanding loyalty. It was in choice, in action taken freely, in trust. Luke joined her quietly. "You've been quiet all day," he said. "Thinking?" "Always thinking," she replied, "about what comes next, about what is right, about who I am." "You're not just a princess," he said. "You're something else now. A symbol maybe, but not the kind your council wanted." Elira looked at him. "And humans? What will they take from this?" "Lessons," he said. "Sometimes the strongest weapon is knowing what to fight for, not just how to fire a gun." She nodded. The simplicity of his words struck her. She had been trained to see power as control, strategy, dominance. Humans taught her there was another kind of strength, moral courage. Suddenly, alerts flashed across the station's sensors. A small fleet approached from the edges of known space. Not the Velith command, but loyalists still loyal to the old empire. They had heard rumors, scanned star lanes, and now sought answers. Luke grabbed a console. "They don't know what hit them yet." Elira placed a hand on the system interface. "We do not need to destroy them," she said. "We only need to show strength and reason." The fleet came closer. Humans prepared defensive formations, but Elira guided the systems. Sensors misled, communications scrambled, shields strengthened without lethal intent. The loyalist ships hesitated, unable to comprehend the resistance. "What is this?" one human pilot asked. Elira's voice was calm. "This is a lesson. Power is not only in weapons." The fleet retreated, confused and wary. Human ships held their positions without firing. Elira's strategy relied on trust and foresight rather than aggression. It worked. The Valeth loyalists returned to their space, reporting nothing of the princess's exact strength, only that humans were unpredictable. After the encounter, the station was silent except for the hum of machinery. Elira felt a strange weight lift from her shoulders. She realized she no longer feared her past. She understood it. She had been shaped by it, but it no longer defined her. "You did well," Luke said softly. "You guided them without firing a shot." They guided themselves, she replied. I only showed the way. Weeks passed. The story of the hidden princess spread through human space. She did not seek fame or reward. She trained humans in ways they could use without becoming dependent on her. She encouraged them to think, to adapt, to make choices. Luke remained her constant companion, guiding and protecting, but also learning from her insight. One day, as she walked through the hangar, a group of humans approached her. They bowed slightly, not out of fear, but respect. She smiled. It was different from the loyalty her empire demanded. It was real. Luke caught up with her. They like you, he said, more than anyone from your empire ever could. Perhaps, she said, because I do not demand it. Her thoughts drifted to the empire. She knew she could not ignore it forever. There would be new battles, new threats. But now she understood something essential. She could face them without being what they wanted her to be. She could stand as herself. Are you staying with me? She asked Luke quietly. He looked at her, steady and sure. I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever. They walked together through the station, observing humans, sharing quiet jokes and making small repairs. The galaxy outside was dangerous and uncertain, but inside the station there was calm, cooperation, and trust. One evening, Elira addressed the crew. We have faced fear, aggression, and betrayal, she said. We have seen loss, yet we still choose to help one another. This is the future we can shape, not through fear, not through power, but through choice. She looked at each human present. I will not rule you. I will stand with you. And together we will show the galaxy that strength is not in domination. Strength is in courage, in trust, and in action. There was silence, and then quiet applause. Humans were not loud, but their respect carried weight. It was enough. It was real. Luke stood beside her, smiling faintly. You've changed everything, he said. No, she replied. We have changed everything. Months passed. Messages from distant systems reached them. Whispers of rebellion, questions in council halls, doubt spreading among the loyalists. The Empire's control was fracturing. Elira had not sought this, yet it was inevitable. Humans had shown her the path, and now her people could not ignore it. She walked alone on the observation deck one night. Stars stretched endlessly before her. Luke joined her quietly. What now? He asked. Now we prepare, she said. Not for war, but for understanding. We will help others see choice is more powerful than fear. He nodded. That sounds like a good future. Elira's eyes shone faintly in the starlight. It is not perfect, she said, but it is ours to shape. They stood together, watching the stars. The galaxy was wide, dangerous, and full of secrets, but they had each other. They had humans who chose to fight for more than survival. They had courage, trust, and hope. And for the first time, Elira understood that her past did not define her. The Empire could try to destroy her, the stars could test her, and the dangers could multiply. But she, a princess no longer bound by chains, stood as herself. Beside humans who proved that even the weakest could shape the future, she would face whatever came next. The galaxy, once vast and indifferent, had begun to listen. And humanity had shown that sometimes the smallest voices, when guided by principle, could echo across worlds. Elira, once a hidden princess, had found a place not of fear or command, but of choice, courage, and trust. With Luke by her side, she was ready for all the challenges ahead. The story of the alien princess and the human who unveiled her secrets was no longer a tale of escape and survival. It had become a story of hope, strength, and the power of humanity.